All right, you guys, I'm going to be introducing the Latex Resist Wash Sky and Foreground today in this demonstration. These are some great examples that'll be posted on the whiteboard. And I'm going to pick up where I left off on the painting we started yesterday when we applied latex to this corner of our 6 washes. And I did this with both classes, and for the demo I'm going to use this side. So if you're like, what in the world, I'm from first block. Well, this painting is what I did with them on this corner, and then I applied the stars with latex here. Flip it on this side, and this is the one I want to work on today. Why this one? Because I was pretty intentional about making sure there was sort of a valley right here, going for something a little bit different than I've done in the past, where I've got this mountain range in here with a little bit of reference of snow or maybe granite, some pine trees, and the aurora borealis doing its thing. And they all kind of play it off of that same slope. And you can decide where you're going to be at. Speaking of that, I've got stars with latex that are maybe too far down, and I can just use the tip of my finger just to pull those up. They'll kind of roll off. It's kind of gross, but almost like a booger or something here, where you can kind of brush that off. I don't know how else to explain it. Give it a try, you'll see what I mean. So I'm taking care of some of these before I paint this. This one's really big, looks kind of funny. We'll take that off of there. A couple of them here that are just a little too big for stars, in my opinion, okay? You should do this when you've got a moment, but right now, I'm gonna go ahead and put a wash over this that looks like, the Northern Lights. Got a sample here of some actual photographs. Not that we're super worried about getting it to look just like this. These I'll post on the whiteboard as well. But the streakiness is going to be achieved by us holding up our board, kind of like the salt wash, to get that watercolor to gradate. You remember this word. And if I want it to go at an angle, then I'm going to tip my board at an angle, not just up and down. Okay, so something to shoot for. I love the color palettes in here, from black, magenta, there's some greens, some teals, and some blues. I think we can make this happen. So let's start the wash. Off screen, I've got my jar of water and my color palette. Paint palette, you want to pre-wet. And you guys can remember my tip for that. Use your sponge and just go ahead and run that over the top of all your paints real quick. Let's go back. I get those pretty wet. If they're dry, you'll be shocked how fast it soaks that up. Okay. I'm gonna put a piece of paper over the top of this painting to protect it. Just rip one out of your sketchbook. Highly suggest it. If you accidentally get water on this or some other paint or something, it's really hard to remove, really frustrating, especially if you're happy with the results. Just grab a sketchbook page, throw that over the top, and kind of prevent that from getting any damage, okay? You could even get crazy and tape it. It's up there on the table up front, okay? It's also a great place for me to place my paints so you guys can see what I'm doing. Start with the wash with my sponge brush and just some pure water. Gonna be careful not to lift any of the latex off. There's a piece, get that off of there. If they come loose, just brush them off. And notice I'm stopping where the stars stop. I hope you can see that on film. So okay, that's my first layer. Now I'm gonna kind of look at this from an angle. I can see the light reflecting, it's soaked into the paper. So I'm gonna give it another coat. Not coming down here because I don't want water there. I don't want the watercolor to run into that, okay? Again, I'm kind of looking at it from an angle. Soaked in pretty good here. I want that water sitting on top. Why? That's what the paint needs to travel through. The first coat of water soaked into the paper. This coat is gonna sit on top. I'm gonna use a mop brush. If you haven't picked one of these out yet, do it. A lot of your kits have this detail brush, which is great, but these are up front, okay? What kind of palette do I wanna use? Well, I'm gonna start, because it's a night sky here, with something kind of dark, and just gonna lay in some blacks across the top here. You can see it activating. It's pretty satisfying. If it's not moving like that, you probably don't have enough water in your black. And notice I'm not trying to soak up a bunch. I've only got this part of my brush from here up that has the paint in it. It's just a carrier to get it over here. So I've kind of got that night sky established. You can see I've started these other paintings the same way, and then I'll start to introduce some other colors, and I kind of lay off down here so it looks like twilight. Just kind of dropping it in. I don't want to do a lot of brush strokes there. Just want to drop that color in. Okay, so let's start to get into some color here. I think I'm going to go with this kind of a purple at first. My brush, I did not wash it, so it's got some black in it at the same time. I'm happy with that. The more pigment, the darker and more saturated your colors will be. The less pigment and more water, the more washed out your image is gonna look. So you need to think that through. All right, I'm in a pretty good place here. Let's transfer some blue in there. That was maybe more than I expected, but it looks all right. And remember, this is my boundary, so I'm almost there and I still have to lift. So at this point, maybe I'll start to think about some like diagonals. So with my brush, kind of wiped it out there a little bit. I'm just gonna start to introduce a little bit of these before I tip it up. And believe it or not, kind of some streaks. I gotta wash the black out of my brush off screen here. Some streaks of these kind of bolder colors, okay? So I've almost referenced it if I was like painting it. I haven't lifted yet. So the excitement's about to happen here when I lift this up, which I'm gonna do now. Take this away. Paper towels are ready to catch the mess. Okay, which I know it's gonna happen. Let's get those here. There goes the drip right there. So you just gotta be prepared, but I do want it to travel, and it's sitting along that line I made. Okay, and feel free to pull that up, soak it up. Can't see that, can you? Let's do this. There you go. Kind of go back and forth here. It's a little streaky, so we'll just kind of work this back and forth just a little bit. Not bad. Kind of looks funny at the start. Let's give it a tip this way, because everything kind of has these motions like it's tipping just downward. And again, the camera angle with this iPad isn't great, but if you just watch, you can actually see the paint moving. Actually looks pretty cool. Let's give it the upward and downward angle one more time. You can see it kind of pulling this way. So we'll just rotate it another direction here. Kind of, again, kind of wild here with the camera. Paint that in a little bit. A little finger painting. Watching for drips. See what's happening there? My paper bubbled pretty bad, but it's not terrible. It's because of how much water I put on there with the sponge. But I think you're getting the idea. Not bad, okay? Actually, what I'm gonna do here, wash my brush so it's free of the dark paint. Oop, green's okay. Just gonna throw a little bit more yellow in here. See, the brush strokes kind of mixed it with black, so I think when I apply yellow, I need to be a little bit better at just putting it in and leaving it. Get that black out of there. So I've got a really heavy line showing up right here of paint. Oh, almost gonna lose it there. See that drip? So just kind of set it down. If you try to do this sitting down, good luck. You need to be kind of mobile. I'm standing on the corner of the table here and able to kind of navigate, grab paper towels, anything I need. Okay, that's working pretty good. Got a funny little spot right here. So again, you can kind of use your brush to tease that a little bit. This is kind of interesting here, so kind of lift a little bit of paint out. This dark line isn't the end of the world, but we'll just take it out here. The brush kind of soaks it up. And let's sit it down and kind of see where we're at. Not bad. You might not like the green. Maybe you do something, the cobalt blue instead. You know, maybe it's something maybe more magenta. Tried different things over the years, and these will be on the whiteboard. You kind of do you. Lots of yellow on that one, my goodness. Okay, that wash needs to sit just like that. If you want to tip it up, that's okay, but I would like to actually start to paint some trees on this one. So this one's just gonna sit here. You can see the masking fluids working really nicely on there, the latex, and I'm gonna remove that later. Right now it just needs to dry, okay? So because it needs to dry, I've actually afforded myself the perfect time to work on some trees here. In class, together, we painted the mountains and this foreground here of this lake, or this stream. And I'm gonna just show you how to throw a couple trees in there before you call it quits. And some of you might not be done with mountains, you might not be done with this foreground, and that's okay. When this video ends, you're gonna have the time to do just what I'm doing. Make the galaxy, or the Aurora Borealis wash, and then when it's drying, finish up this painting. And that's our goal today in class, okay? So just a couple pointers on trees, and then we'll be finished. This right here is your go-to for trees if you've never painted pine trees before, okay? Like yesterday, I'm gonna use my sketchbook as a place to catch some rough drafts, some practice. Highly recommend you practice in here before you paint some random trees you've never practiced on this guy, okay? And a couple thoughts. My painting, this part feels really close to me, so these trees will be bigger, just scale and distance. The ones in the middle ground are gonna be smaller, and the ones way back here in the distance, this looks like maybe a half mile or farther away. Those trees might just be tiny little dashes, okay? Literally just tiny little brush strokes to emulate what it looks like looking way out there and seeing some pine trees. And pine trees help break it up. This is a good example. Large up close, medium in the middle, small in the distance. Okay, and I'm not even gonna attempt to put them up on the mountains. That could be miles away, all right? I guess a good example here too is to see the variety of color. If all you use is one blue the whole time, it's gonna look like you painted with one blue, monochromatic. But if you use purples and blues and magentas in your paints and even in the pine trees, it's gonna have some more life to it. It's gonna look a little bit more interesting, all right? So let's try this just a little bit. And I'm gonna use my detail brush that you saw me working with yesterday a little bit to paint the mountains and such, kind of waking that up. And I'm gonna be looking kind of at these off screen. I don't have enough screen space to show you all of that. But as far as pine trees go, let's just for fun paint with a green right now, even though I'm gonna go back to blues. So I'll just kind of take a little bit of green out here, just a touch of blue, maybe a touch of brown, kind of give it like a dark sagey color, or like a piney color right here. That brown just instantly kind of takes it into a nice deep kind of hunter brown. Or green. And what I'm gonna do here is just start with the top of the pine tree, and I start with little dots like this. And then once I got that, then I just kind of do what looks like little mustaches, and they get a little bit bigger. And I'm holding the brush by the ferrule like a marker or a pencil. Mustache is a funny way to connect to this technique, but honestly, it gives that idea of it kind of going off right and left, but also towards us. My brush is starting to lose a little bit of color, and it's darker up here, so I can actually soak some of that up and transfer it. In the bottom of the tree, you can kind of just This is called scumbling or stippling, just little dots. Not a bad pine tree, okay? A little bit more. If I put one in the behind it, maybe it's a little bit taller. Start with some dots, tiny little mustaches. Looks a little lighter. Let's soak up some of this paint. Bring it over here. And then when you run into the other tree, just leave it alone. Just work around it. And if I stop here, because this one stops there, it feels like it's maybe farther back. And then if I just paint little guys in the distance here, and my brush starts to run out, it looks cool because they just look like they're back there. And they're kind of abstracted, but they could be, you know, entire groves of pine trees back there in the distance. But as soon as you put one close to the bottom, it's gonna feel like it's closer to us. So just get used to this, okay? What you don't wanna do is real organized pine tree like this. Or I have seen students paint literally like the strangest things. I'm not sure where they're getting this from. Or even just a straight up triangle and they're trying to do things with it. You know, the classic like put the bark on there, the trunk, and then try to put a tree on there. I mean, what's going on here? Okay? Kind of live in that world of mustaches. Just give it a try. Trust me, it's gonna get you somewhere close to kind of looking like that. These brush strokes have tended to go downward. You can build the same type of tree from the bottom up. If you like something that looks more like a spruce, it's gonna grow upward like this. These are just upside down. I kind of like to do the upward brush stroke because it looks like the ends of the tree branches kind of wisp and are pointy. Okay, something like that. You can always come back in and kind of drop a little bit of color. All right, so that's that. And on my actual painting, and you can fill this up with practice, I would try some small ones, larger ones. I'm gonna just jump in for the sake of the demo. Let's say you guys have practiced up. Wash my brush to get that green out of there and come back here with a purple palette. Where do I wanna put these? If you wanna sketch little lines really light with your H pencil, you could. We'll throw this in here. This is starting to dry nicely, by the way, up here. Leave that alone. I'm just gonna set this up here as a reference, okay? You guys can kind of see some of those pine trees. So this is sort of a boring area. I'm probably gonna have a larger pine tree that even goes up past the horizon line and kind of breaks it up. So that's where I'm gonna start. Here we go. Use the tip of my paintbrush. It's nice and pointy. I got this funny water drip, so maybe I'll kind of distract people. Okay, it's coming on pretty dark, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove a little bit of material there. There we go, kind of lighten it up just a little bit. You can tell I'm running out of paint because it's getting light. Just recharge that. Again, if it's looking too organized, just break it up a little bit. Put some kind of random pieces in there. Pine trees I've seen a lot, so they're all like, have some personality, some uniqueness to them. There we go. That works, okay? You'll often see me take and put some darks in there too, just some shadows. Random, kind of, again, just sort of break it up. That works. Another one's gonna end up going here, farther upstream. A hint at one in the background. I always put these foreground ones first. And if you want them to go back in here, they're gonna start to turn pretty small. See them way back there? Looks like you need one in here, so just paint one last one here. Mixture of colors. Don't wanna just live right out of my palette. You know, I could paint that one farther down in front, but I kind of like where that landed. All right. So that's the idea, okay? Before I totally call it quits on this painting, I don't really like this outline, so you're gonna see me just kind of come in there and just maybe redefine this and break it up. I think there's maybe some rocks in the creek here or something along the edge. A little too dark, just kind of lift that out. Brush is starting to dry out. Kind of looks like snow right there. That looks cool. So more time, and I'm not gonna do it now. You're probably ready to go. I'll work on this side. Be more pine trees back here. There's gonna be some really light ones. I'm kind of running out of paint. That's okay. I want them to look distant, okay? And let it be. Don't do anything to the sky. Just kind of figure that out. It looks good. That'll work. With some time, I'll have it fully realized with different things in there. And that's how you put in the trees on this painting, okay? So before I leave you, let's just look how the Aurora Borealis turned out. Pretty nice. You're gonna see me finish this painting just like the way I did the salt resist. I'm gonna come back through here, paint in some mountains. I can do this now that it's dry. If you do this wet, it's gonna bleed right into that. I'm gonna start with black as my base. And really put a lot of pigment in here. So this is silhouetted. Now, to speed things up a little bit, I'm gonna stop here, but show you guys some finished paintings. And the idea here is to keep painting down, throw in some other colors if you want. I warmed this up with some greens and browns and purples. These will be on the whiteboard for reference. And I switched to my detail brush, and before I called this painting quits, I went ahead and put little hints of pine trees in there. I even lifted with my brush some things out to reference rocks. That you could even pre-wet and drop in the color. Looks like what I did there. Painted in some pine trees like I did on the assault effect painting. Put some up here, a little bit bigger than this one, right? And you just kind of create something that works for you. If you can accomplish where I'm at here with 2 finished paintings today, that would be very ambitious, and that would be your goal. If you run out of time on both of these today, that's very normal, and you'll have time later on Friday and on Monday to catch up. So that's where I'd like you to be today on this Thursday of painting.